Time and weather take their toll on almost anything that stays outdoors. But often, even though things may look pretty sad, revival may be only a spray can away. This gas grill works just fine, but the finish on the base is faded and powdery. And the work tables are rusted. Prepare something like this by first removing debris, especially from nooks and crevices. Sand with 220 grit paper, moving back and forth in overlapping straight strokes. Remove hardware that can come off easily. Finally, wash the surface with soap and water. And rinse thoroughly. Use masking tape and paper to protect any surfaces that should not be painted, like the grill hood. For this job, I'm using a hammered finish satin black from Rust-Oleum's Universal line. Hold the can 8 to 10 inches from the surface and move back and forth in smooth, even strokes. Because the shelves are subject to heat from the gas burners, I'm using Rust-Oleum's High Heat Ultra Finish here. It resists temperatures up to 1200 degrees. With the painting completed, the paper and tape is removed, and the restored gas grill is ready for cooking. For all intents and purposes, it looks like a brand new unit. Outside light fixtures like these can last for many years, although often, as in this case, the finish deteriorates. The key is to remove any loose material before repainting. A circular steel brush on an electric grill works well for irregular surfaces like these. A hand brush can also work well. Finish the surface preparation by sanding with 220 grit paper. Cut the full sheets into quarters, then fold each quarter into thirds. This makes the paper stiff, yet pliable enough to conform to curved surfaces. Because of the way this fixture is constructed, I'm going to leave the glass in place and cover it with masking tape. A spray can is by far the fastest and easiest way to paint an object with many facets and a lot of detail like this. For this job, I've selected another hammered finish paint called Carbon Mist. The texture and gray-black color are perfect for this traditional fixture. When the paint's dry, the masking tape is peeled off and the carriage lamp remounted. This wagon's been sitting in my storage shed for years. One of the projects I've been meaning to get to, but just haven't. To do this job right, I'm going to need to disassemble the wagon, and since I'll be using 4 different colors, I'll paint the parts before reassembling them. The bottom is beyond repair and will need replacing. The faded and chipping paint on the wooden sides can be removed most easily with a vibrating sander and 120 grit paper. I unscrew the hardware from the frame rails, then sand them to eliminate surface oxidation and revive the wood. I'm making the new bottom out of 1/4-inch plywood cut to size. Before painting, I wipe the parts to remove any surface dust. Painting these slatted sides with a brush would be a time-consuming task. Using spray paint, on the other hand, makes the job simple, fast, impressively smooth, and free of drips and brush marks. The wagon wheel rims will need a bit of finish revival too. I place a 1/4 on top of the wheel bearing to keep it paint-free. Then, using a jigsaw, I cut a paint mask from a scrap of 1/4-inch plywood. The mask is placed over the rubber tires to protect them from any paint overspray. This is much faster than taping each individual wheel. The wagon's metal parts are sanded to remove heavy corrosion, then cleaned and smoothed using 00 steel wool. Despite the irregular and curved surfaces, finish application goes quickly. With all the parts cleaned and repainted, the wagon is reassembled. First the chassis, then the rails, and finally the slatted sides. You know, I'm not sure just where this beauty is going to end up, but I do know that it will bring a whole lot of enjoyment to some child who loves to pull a wagon loaded with his or her favorite things. Over the years, the cast base of our sundial has gradually developed a coating of rust. 220 grit sandpaper works well when it comes to removing the heavier deposits on the easy-to-reach surfaces. But steel wool does a better job of getting into the flutes and the details around the column top and bottom. Masking tape is used to cover the bronze dial, which I do not want painted. For this project, I've chosen yet another hammered finish from Rust-Oleum. This one has a slight greenish cast and is called Rosemary. The universal spray cans are designed to deliver an even, splatter-free coating regardless of the angle at which the can is held. The rust is gone and the colors revived, yet this outdoor garden piece looks convincingly like it's been sitting here gracefully aging for many years. This child's chair is an orphan, the only survivor of a set of 4. Its finish is faded, peeling, and discolored. Rather than stain it again, I've decided to give it a 2-tone paint job. Something bright, cheery, and, well, very childlike. 120 grit paper on a vibrating sander does a good job of removing what's left of the existing finish and smoothing the surface of the wood. Once I'm finished, I remove any dust with a soft rag. Since I'm dealing with 2 colors here, I'll need to mask off everything except the areas I want to paint. Trust me, painting these slats by hand with a brush would be tedious work, but this spray can allows me to easily deliver a uniform coat of paint to even the most difficult to reach surfaces without the risk of drips and runs. I allow the first color to dry for 24 hours. Then remove the masking tape and do the masking in reverse, covering the portion I painted the day before while exposing the remaining part of the chair. For larger surfaces like the seat, I'll use paper in combination with the tape. Good spraying technique means consistently holding the can 8 to 10 inches from the surface while making smooth overlapping passes. Build up the finish in several thinner layers rather than trying to apply overly heavy coats. Removing the tape and paper reveals a whimsical piece of outdoor furniture that's sure to put a smile on a child's face. It certainly put one on mine. Every once in a while, I stop at my favorite consignment shop here in town and take a look around. On this trip, I came across this patio table and chair set. For me, it's the perfect makeover project. The set is made from bent steel rod, and the black finish is worn off in several places. And those plastic-covered seats, well, they're just plain ugly and have to go. 220 grit sandpaper removes the rust spots, while 00 steel wool smooths and cleans the overall surface. To give this set a little more interest, I'm using a dark brown, sort of bronzy hammered finish called chestnut. I want the color to be deep, rich, and metallic looking with a somewhat aged appearance. The table and chairs came with a polyurethane plastic planter. Now, here the objective is to make this inexpensive container look like metal. A dark bronze hammered finish should do the trick and will complement the color I've used on the metal. Using a circle jig on the bandsaw, I'm cutting 2 round blanks that will become the new seats. With a router and a step and bead bit, I create a decorative detail to the seat edges, something simple yet appealing. After sanding with 120 grit paper, the seats are ready for finishing either with a polyurethane or oil-based sealer. Finally, I attach the new seats to the chair frames. From flea market find to fanciful seating for 2, thanks to a couple of very handsome spray finishes. You know, when you think about it, it's really quite amazing how many creative possibilities there are in a spray can like this.